Hey, everybody, and we are back with Speechless. The purpose of this show will be also to record for my radio show this Sunday. So, during the breaks where I'd usually have a break during the radio show, I will make sure to get to your comments and respond to them as well. But we got a lot to talk about here today, guys. We got Donald Trump was removed from the Colorado ballot. Is Kwanza even a real holiday? Gay sex in the Senate, so much more. And we're going to talk about it here today on Speechless. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Speechless. I'm your host, Kev Phares, 22-year-old, almost 23. Actually, by the time this airs on the radio, I will be a 23-year-old college graduate. I graduated just over a week ago by the time this airs in marketing and political science. So happy to do so. And I'm still pre-recorded on the radio, everybody. So thank you so much for tuning in for anybody that is there. But let's get into a lot of different things today, guys. Once again, I'm so happy to be joined by each and every one of you, especially if you're in the YouTube verse. So if you're listening on the radio, everybody, just so you know, I am pre-recording these from now on. And if you want to see them live and you want to interact with me, want to interact with just the amazing people that check out my shows and watch and everything like that, don't forget to go check out Speechless with Kev on YouTube or pretty much anywhere you get your content, YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, all that stuff. Look up Speechless with Kev, and don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, everything like that, because I bring you guys content, not only on the radio, but off-air content as well, and I love doing it. It's so much fun. I got a fun home studio now. I got a great background. I got a green screen, everything like that, and it is so much fun for me, and you guys would be able to see me in my element. Look at me. I know I've always been told I have a face for radio, but let's be honest, maybe I could be a little handsome on YouTube too. So definitely go check me out on YouTube. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment, everything like that. And thanks for tuning in. Now, let's get right on into it, everybody. Former President Donald J. Trump was removed from the Colorado ballot this week on Tuesday evening out of the Daily Wire. Here, let's lay out the facts of the case here. The Supreme Court of Colorado ruled that President Donald J. Trump had to be removed from the state ballot for both the primaries and the general election. They cited the 14th Amendment, Section 3 of the Constitution of the United States, which reads as follows. It's exactly what it says here. No person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector of the president or vice president or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state, who having previously taken an oath as a member of Congress or as an officer of the United States, or executive or judicial officer of any state, the support of the Constitution of the United States, shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. But Congress may, by a vote of 2/3 of each house, remove such a disability. So this is what happened. This is what happened to Donald Trump. But we got to talk about a little bit more exactly what happened in Colorado. The case, which was made by a 4-3 majority in favor of barring President Trump from the ballot, is simple. They say that Trump tried to conduct an insurrection in their judgment and thus can be barred from the ballot by their say-so. Quote, Congress does not need to pass implementing legislation for Section 3's disqualification provision to attach, says the court. And, quote, Section 3 is in that sense self-executing. In other words, so long as Section 3 says that insurrectionists are disqualified from office, that means that Congress need not sound off on just what insurrectionists are. State courts can do that now. State courts can decide that fate. Now, they also claim they are qualified to determine who is guilty of insurrection under the 14th Amendment without any criminal case or impeachment case. The court continues saying that the events of January 6 constituted an insurrection and that President Trump engaged in that insurrection. The court claims that President Trump's direct and express efforts over several months, exhorting his supporters to march to the Capitol to prevent what he falsely characterized as an alleged fraud on the people of this country, were indisputably overt and voluntary. Moreover, the evidence amply shows that President Trump undertook all these actions to aid and further a common unlawful purpose that he himself conceived and set in motion. prevent Congress from certifying the 2020 presidential election, and stop the peaceful transfer of power. So that's what the court claims. And look, here's the thing, guys. There's a lot of questions to answer with this. There is, of course, the question, which I titled in my YouTube video, is this bad for democracy or is it a good thing? And you may have an initial gut reaction as to the answer to that question, but I want to remind you to be a critical thinker. Really think about that question. Is this bad for democracy or is it a good thing? And consider that when I discuss a little bit more here, because I'm going to go to what I consider to be an easier question first. Is this even constitutional, as the court would claim? Simply put, no. There is no precedent to suggest that removing Donald Trump by means of a state Supreme Court is in any way constitutional. The cited Section 3 of the 14th Amendment was designed to prohibit those who had served in the Confederacy from holding public office in the United States. The Confederacy, as we know, was an armed rebellion against the United States, which ended in the deaths of some 600,000 Americans on both sides. There is no clear explanation as to whether or not this portion of the Constitution was to apply to future perceived rebellions, nor how actually it is to be applied. Now, the Civil War, of course, was a very specific example. The South, at the time, directly seceded from the North and essentially created their own country and government apart from the United States. So they made the Confederacy. It was apart from the United States. It was its own thing. Now, the exact events of January 6th, while still vague, as we don't know who all the actors were, and we have questions, and in some cases, some confirmations, but those events wouldn't even compare to the Civil War in the eyes of the loudest leftists that you could possibly hear. They wouldn't compare. 600,000 deaths and secession to an entirely new country. Now, as far as I know, nobody was trying to set up Trumpylvania or anything like that. They weren't trying to create a new country. At worst, through the eyes of a leftist, they were trying to overturn the election of 2020. At worst, and again, through the eyes of a leftist. Not to mention the fact that Trump never said that you should go into the Capitol and stage an insurrection. In fact, he said the opposite, but I'm going to get to that. Now, I want to also get to some slight good news in all of this. Trump has already vowed to appeal this decision, and the likelihood that the decision remains when brought to the United States Supreme Court is slim. Now, I don't often make predictions with such certainty, but I am certain that Trump will be on the Colorado ballot. I'm certain of it. And if he isn't, the Colorado GOP has already vowed to ditch the primary method in favor of a caucus if, for some reason, the Supreme Court were to rule against him. But the overall outcome of all of this is the least of my concern. Whether or not Trump is on the ballot, whether or not they have a caucus, that's the least of my concern. Should be the least of yours as well. If Trump is ahead in popularity, as the polls suggest, then he wouldn't even necessarily need Colorado to win. The bigger issues here remain to be the precedent this sets, not only in terms of removing presidential candidates that you don't like from the ballot, but it also sets an incredible precedent and an incredibly bad precedent for the First Amendment and the rights we have as American citizens. Now, why do I say this? Well, I actually read through a lot of the state Supreme Court decision from Colorado, and one of the most stark and scary passages of it starts on page 116. So if you actually read it, you can go pull it up right now. Google. I'm telling you guys, go Google all you got to do is Google state Supreme Court decision Trump ballot removal. Should be one of the first things. You can get it from like NPR. They just have the PDF for you. And if you go to page 116 of the document, you'll see how it starts to rebuttal Trump's claims that his speech was protected by the First Amendment. And Trump, in fact, did claim that. However, the state Supreme Court decided that his speech was not protected by the First Amendment. How? By applying what is called the Brandenburg test. Now, this test originates from the 1969 Supreme Court case called Brandenburg v. Ohio. Now, what exactly is this case, you might be asking? How are they using this to disqualify Trump's speech in which he claimed there was election fraud and asked for people to peacefully protest at the Capitol on January 6th? Well, Brandenburg v. Ohio, once again, the case that surrounded this entire thing, was about Clarence Brandenburg, who had addressed a small gathering of Ku Klux Klan members in a field in Hamilton County, Ohio. Now, during this address, Brandenburg bemoaned the fate of the white Caucasian race, as it said in the case, at the hands of the government. He made anti-Semitic and anti-Black statements and alluded to the possibility of revengeance in the event that the federal government and court continued to, quote, suppress the white Caucasian race. He also announced that the Klan members were planning to march on Washington, D.C. on Independence Day. Now, ultimately, this case was known to define a limit to free speech. And we're going to get to that limit. If you're streaming on YouTube right now, this is live. It's pre-recorded. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm going to get to some comments during the break. If you're listening to the pre-recorded version of this show on the radio, this Sunday, Christmas Eve. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, covering the news of the week here on Speechless. I really love you guys, and I appreciate you still listening on the radio, but please make sure you go check me out on all the different streaming platforms I'm on. All you got to do is Google Speechless with Kev. It'll be the first thing that comes up. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you think, share it with your friends, all that fun stuff. And during this break, I'm going to go through some of the comments, see what people are thinking or listening and thinking of so far, and respond to some of them. Say hi to a lot of the people that consistently watch, all that fun stuff. And if you want to be a part of that, like I said, if you're listening on the radio, all you got to do is Google Speechless with Kev, like, subscribe, share, and comment, all that fun stuff, and be a part of the conversation. That's what Speechless is all about. And I'm so happy I get to share this with you guys. God bless you. God bless America. And we'll be right back with more Speechless. Okay, everybody who is streaming in on StreamYard, thank you guys so much. As I mentioned, I'm pre-recording this for my Sunday radio show. But I'm still going to be here, and I'm going to get to the rest of some more content. But I'm keeping the radio show going, and I want to make sure that we get these messages to as many people as possible. And so I have more to talk about when it comes to the Supreme Court case, Trump, and everything like that. But I also want to make sure I say hello to my favorite people, the people that are always here with me. So Oklahoma Chicken Cam, thank you so much for tuning in. Demon Goral, always appreciate you. You're the best. I mean that. Matt Mittens, Pizza Chip, Colorado does not dictate the choices for the Republican Party. You're right. I know it's not Sunday, Oklahoma Chicken Cam. I know. I don't get to turn 23 until you turn 24. I'm sorry, but I didn't get to decide my birthday. Or 54, yeah. Unconventional, thank you so much for tuning in. Okay, guys, where in the Constitution does the government decide the outcome of a probate race? Exactly. Absolutely. Keep the comments coming, guys. If any questions you guys have, I will answer them. I'm going to keep recording for the radio show and keep getting to this content because there's more to learn and more to talk about. And so let's get back into it. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Speechless. I'm your host, Kev Phares, 22. Well, at this point, by the time it's Sunday, when you guys are listening to this, I'll be 23-year-old college graduate, conservative activist. And honestly, I'm so excited for the year to come, 2024. even though there might be some scary things coming. And we're going to talk about those and so much more today on the show. Thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to check me out on YouTube. I do live stream these pre-recordings on YouTube, in which I have some phenomenal people who tune in, listen, all that fun stuff. And they're right here with me right now in the comments section. And you could be too. All you got to do is go Google Speechless with Kev. And then you can like, subscribe, share, comment, all that fun stuff. See me in my new home studio. Yep, my new home studio. It's a lot of fun where I'm covering all these topics. In the first segment, if you were listening, you heard I was talking about Trump being removed from the Colorado ballot. And I'm talking about why this is a threat to our First Amendment rights. Well, on page 116 of the Supreme Court decision, the state Supreme Court decision, they rebuttal Donald Trump's claim that his speech on January 6th was covered under the First Amendment, which it absolutely was. But they rebuttal it using a case and a test that they called the Bradenburg test, which originates from a SCOTUS case, Bradenburg v. Ohio, which surrounded a Ku Klux Klan member that in some way incited violence by giving a speech that was, quote, anti-Black and anti-Semitic. Now, ultimately, this case was known to define a limit on free speech as, quote, speech advocating illegal conduct is protected under the First Amendment unless that speech is likely to incite, quote, imminent lawless action, which honestly, frankly, is still a very, very vague definition. It is. The conservative interpretation of that definition would be that any direct call to imminent lawless action crosses the line of free speech, while a liberal mind would say anything that had lawless consequences is not protected, unless it was looting because of George Floyd's overdose or pro-terrorism riots. Who knows? But here's the thing about those, is it speaks significantly to the difference between the conservative mind and the liberal mind. Conservatives tend to take both intention and consequences into account, as the left only takes consequences. If you say something that is deemed hateful, derogatory, transphobic, homophobic, sexist, misogynistic, all those terms, then it doesn't matter what your intention was. You could have the best intention in the world. But the consequences of that, because it made somebody feel bad, that's the problem. That's the problem to them. They only care about the consequences of said action and not necessarily the intent behind it. But I digress a bit. Obviously, the Colorado Supreme Court chose a more liberal interpretation of that definition from the Bradenburg test. But Trump had said multiple times, this is the other thing, multiple times during the rally that he held, that he wanted people to peacefully protest. And so just to prove that to you guys, in case you don't remember, in case you're not old enough to remember like I am, I want to share with you an example of just that. This is a quote from Trump. And if you're watching on YouTube or anything, I'm going to share my screen and you'll be able to see Donald Trump when he was actually at the rally. And this is what he had to say to everybody. And this is what this Colorado Supreme Court claims caused the insurrection. This is part of it. Here we go. Take a look and listen.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. Today we will see whether Republicans stand strong for integrity of our elections. I know that everyone here will soon.
Let's hear it one more time, just to make sure that we all heard exactly what he said, because it seems like the Colorado Supreme Court didn't even listen. Take a listen.
Be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
To peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. Apparently, that constitutes insurrection to the Colorado State Supreme Court. The importance of this, however, is not that a presidential candidate can have his speech put under review and ultimately be punished for it. No, it's not about the presidential candidate. Honestly, it's about you. Because if a presidential candidate can have his speech limited for a very vague interpretation of a 1960s Supreme Court case, then you can too. Let's think of some examples here. If you complain about your boss making you work and making you work weekends mainly, maybe, and you have a mentally unstable coworker who goes to hurt your boss, maybe even kill him, you might be liable. If you mention that you're short on rent and a friend goes and robs a bank to help you out, you might be liable. That is essentially the precedent being set here. If you're a presidential candidate and the current president, and you say that you believe that the election was stolen from you, and that you want people to protest peacefully, and they don't protest peacefully, you could be held liable for the actions that they committed against what you said, directly against what you said. Now, I know that might sound like a slippery slope, but look at the world right now. Men can become women. Everybody's racist, especially if you're white. If you're white, you're a white supremacist. The slope that is slippery is the Himalayas we're currently skiing down as a country. And so if you believe that you couldn't be held liable for some set of speech that caused consequences that you were nowhere near intended for, you absolutely could be, according to the Colorado State Court. Anything is on the table. This case represents an attack on you. And it's not just the court that hates the fact that people can say what they want, even if they believe it to be, even if they believe it to be incorrect, the court. No, it's not just the court. You guys might know the mainstream media. You guys might have already known this because I talk about it on the show a lot. But the lamestream media hates you too. They don't want you to be able to say what you want. And a perfect example of this is minutes after this ruling, just minutes after it. MSDNC, aka MSNBC, one of their anchors was giddy to praise the decision made by the state court and attack your First Amendment right. Here's a perfect example of that right here. This is on the show, just a brief clip of one of their hosts, like I said, hating the First Amendment. Take a look and listen.
Is not protected by the First Amendment. Glenn, we've been talking for days, if not weeks, about this idea of Donald Trump trying to hide behind the First Amendment to be able to give an excuse for what is otherwise going to be clear criminal conduct. Your thoughts about what this Supreme Court kind of ruling has now said as well?
So, as you might have heard, what she said in that was that, well, first off, I want to also point out the irony. The irony in that. The irony in a so-called journalist having a disastrous take on the First Amendment. But that's what happens when you're bought and paid for. Because she's not even necessarily expressing her First Amendment. She's not sharing her beliefs. She's sharing the beliefs that she's paid to have. Now, not to mention that if she were ever sued for anything she said on her show, I guarantee you she'd hide behind the First Amendment just as much as she claims Donald Trump is. But I digress. The point is, if you didn't already see it on our college campuses, if you didn't already see it at the court, in the court system, period, your freedom of speech is under attack. And now the Supreme Court of Colorado has made it legally justifiable. And we'll see if that holds up in the Supreme Court of the United States. I doubt it will. But we will see. Now, I also want to mention state power as it relates to this. State power and the precedent that this whole sets on how much power a state has over you, over elections, over democracy, and more. And I also want to get to the answer of the question of, is this overall ruling good or good, period? And or is it bad for democracy? And we're going to cover that. I do have to take a quick break here on the radio side of things. Once again, everybody, these are pre-recorded on the radio. I am live on YouTube, and I'm going to get when I take this little break, I'm going to get to some comments, see what people are saying, talk to people. And so if you want to be a part of those conversations, if you want to see me when I do these shows live, go check out Speechless with Kev on YouTube. Subscribe, comment, like, share, all that fun stuff. I'm also on Rumble. I'm on Twitch. I'm on Facebook. And I'm going to get on some more platforms here soon. But definitely go check it out, guys. I really appreciate you guys supporting the show. My name's Kev Phares, and we'll be right back with some more Speechless. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, everybody, let's see what's going on in the comments. Like I said, I have more to talk about. Oh, I see my friend Larry's in the comments. Thank you, Larry, for joining. Let's see what you're saying in here. Video and audio are coming through. Good. How did those videos do when I played the clips? I know I had some clips in that last segment. It might have gotten a little worse, but I hope that it's doing well. Much better than last night. Thank you. Leftists are the new 1930s European Jewish people, according to you. No, this makes no sense, Larry. I don't believe anybody should be like put in concentration camps or anything like that. In fact, that's actually what I advocate against. That's why I'm so ardently against China. And ardently against the left, because they'd love nothing more than to put me into one of their gulags. But okay. Okay, bud. All hail the fellowship. Just saw this. Well, thank you so much for joining, Raven. I appreciate it. Violations of the First Amendment are not preventable, only prosecutionable. Absolutely. And honestly, the state Supreme Court should be held accountable for this. But the only way to do that is to ensure that Donald Trump has his fair shot at the election just as much as every other candidate should. That's my belief on it. It is horrendous. And I hope you guys are enjoying the breakdown of all this. Thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight. I am going to probably continuously do live streams on Thursdays. Once we get through the holidays, I'll probably also do some on Sundays and also have some content that comes out during the week. I will have a special surprise. It's not going to be a live stream. I'm going to pre-record it, but a special little surprise that will air in the evening on Christmas. Tune into it either on Christmas itself. Maybe I'll even post it in the morning, but I will have a little surprise. So make sure to check out my channel on Christmas or the day after. If you're spending a lot of time with family, maybe even watch it with family. I'd appreciate that. But a little gift for you guys that'll come out on Christmas Day. So I hope you guys like that. Violations of the First Amendment. Yep, I already covered that one. Raven, we are supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. They have decided he is guilty before they even started. He's been accused, but he's not been found guilty. Absolutely. If the accusations are enough, I think Texas and Florida should proceed with their removal of Biden. That's something I'm going to cover a little bit. Let me make sure I have everything prepared for this next segment. I should have everything prepared for this next segment. Okay, everybody. Like I said, if you're just tuning in, I am using this live stream to pre-record for my radio show. So I'm getting in a little bit of a radio format here. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. We're going to get to segment 3, and I'll do a bit of a recap so that you guys can hear any of that. Let's get right on into this in one moment. Here we go. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Speechless. I'm your host, Kev Phares, 23-year-old, basically by the time this airs, 23-year-old conservative college graduate now going into the workforce come January, as well as still applying to law schools for next fall. Very excited to see what my future holds. And I hope you guys will stay with me on this journey because I'm not going anywhere. Not only am I not going anywhere on your radio, but I do pre-record these shows now from home. And if you want to see me pre-record them, don't forget to go check me out on YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, Twitch by searching up. All you got to do is Google Speechless with Kev, Speechless with Kev, and you'll see me. You'll find me, and you can like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you think, and share it with your friends, all that fun stuff. I'd really appreciate it. But I've been talking about Donald Trump and the fact that he was removed from the Colorado state ballot because of their state Supreme Court. Earlier in the show, I already talked about how this is detrimental not only to the precedent of removing candidates, not only to our First Amendment rights, but now I want to talk about how it's detrimental to the precedent set in terms of what a state has rights over. And while I do believe in, for the most part, smaller federal government, when it comes to a federal election, it would make sense that the candidates in which that are allowed on the ballot and the way in which one is potentially removed should be at the hands much more of the federal government. The federal government tends to be slower and less efficient. If anything, that's probably best. We're going to talk a little bit more about that, but if you missed anything else earlier in the show, you can always go check it out on my YouTube channel, Speechless with Kev. So if you want to hear everything else I've already talked about, go check it out. You'll find this video. It's called Trump's Removal from the Colorado Ballot, a Blow to Democracy, or is it a good thing? And those are still questions we're going to answer here, but let's get into the states' rights conversation here. As I mentioned, state power is the next precedent we have to discuss. Some would claim that the state has the power to do this, even if there is a legal argument as to whether or not a state has the power, as to whether or not they could. I believe the question we should be seeking to answer is whether or not they should. If the state courts have the power to decide their own definition of an insurrection, what's to stop them from deciding their own definition of pretty much any other crime when it fits their political agenda? Not to mention the fact that they also get to decide who is and isn't listed on the ballot. Now, the last time a Republican presidential candidate was removed from the ballot was the election of 1860. Now, I'm not old enough to necessarily remember the election of 1860 as it happened. But I am old enough to know what kind of was going on around at that time. In 1860, Southern Democrats, again, Democrats and their states, were fed up with some guy with a beard and a top hat who seemed to be pretty level-headed, but they were fed up with him. And he had radical ideas, like the idea that you shouldn't be able to own other people. So radical, I know. But these Democrats were really mad, and they removed him from their ballots for president. Who was the man that they removed? If you haven't guessed it already, I'll spell it out for you. Abraham Lincoln. Now, by no means do I want to necessarily compare the legacies of Donald Trump and Abraham Lincoln. Both phenomenal presidents in their own right, but to me, it's no contest. Abraham Lincoln has, at least so far, has a much larger legacy on the United States, and his impact is insurmountable compared to Trump's. However, when Lincoln is the current precedent to remove a presidential candidate, it would seem, at least in my eyes, that you wouldn't want to be on the side of the people that remove a candidate from the ballot. I wouldn't want to be on that side because the last time it happened, it was people in the segregated South that didn't want to give up their slaves, and so they took the guy that was going to do it off the ballot. And then what did he end up doing? Here's the other thing, too. What did Lincoln end up doing after he got taken off the ballot? He beat the South's butt. He beat their butt in the Civil War. Yes, hundreds of thousands of people died. But if that's kind of what's happening already, and I were the left, I would be terrified. And I'm going to talk about exactly why they should be terrified, but I want to finish up a little bit more of this because this brings me to the ultimate questions that I started off this entire kind of diatribe with, that's taken up the first three segments of the show. And I did that because this is a very important case to recognize. But the question again, the ultimate questions, the first being, is this bad for democracy? And the answer is unequivocally yes. I'd also like to be clear that America is not a pure democracy. We are a constitutional republic with democratic attributes. But I digress. This is bad for democracy. The left has screamed, especially over the past 3 years, but they have screamed as loud as they could that Trump is a threat to democracy and he will destroy democracy, with their blue hair and their angry scowls they always have, and their septum piercings. They scream that he's going to kill democracy. It'll be a dictator. And Trump says, I'll only be a dictator on day one. Just day one. That's what I say. Just day one. That's what he says. And he obviously means it as like kind of a colloquial phrasing, but they still take it seriously and are like, he's Hitler, but whatever. Now, they've claimed consistently that he'll be a threat and try to kill democracy. However, when we recognize democracy and the definition of it as a form of government in which the people are meant to elect their representatives, and one side of the aisle is cheering on the removal of a candidate from the ballot, a candidate who has met every qualification to be listed on said ballot, who is really the one destroying democracy? Who is really the threat to democracy? And this is the gaslighting the left consistently does. Back in 2016, they claimed Russia, Russia, Russia. While at the same time, Hillary was also, in some ways, coordinating with Russia and Russian bots. The left will also claim that everybody on the right is racist, and at the same time use the soft bigotry of low expectations to say that black people couldn't get into college if it wasn't for affirmative action. That is what the left does. They'll tell you that Trump is destroying democracy, that Republicans are destroying democracy, while in the same swift action, they will remove him from a ballot and make it so that the voters don't actually have a choice in who their candidates are. That's their plan. Now, this should infuriate every single American, left, right, and center. It should. If you really actually cared about the democracy that you're so yelling to protect from Trump, this should infuriate you. I would be just as mad if Hillary, Bernie, AOC, any crazy whack job, somebody that I would never vote for in a million years, I would be infuriated if they were removed from a ballot. Because the people should have a right to voice their vote in a fair system. So this absolutely would destroy democracy. And not even just because this is the other thing too. This also shows you something big about the left. Look, the left will oftentimes also try to silence speech, period. I already talked about the threat to free speech that comes from this case in and of itself. But they even say they try to shut down on college campuses. They try to shut down speakers because they don't like their ideas. They try to make it so that you can't say things, like you can't call somebody by their biological gender. You have to call them by whatever they feel inside. Otherwise, it's illegal, whatever, all that kind of crap. They'll say those kinds of things. Why? Why don't they want Trump on the ballot? Why don't they want you to be able to share your opinion in public without some level of retribution? And in their eyes, illegal retribution. Why? Because their candidates and their ideas hold so little water, are such a house of cards that they couldn't go up against us and against our ideas, against our values, against our candidates. That's why they go through indictments and ballot removal and shutting down speech. Because actually participating in the system, by actually participating in debate, by actually participating in elections fairly and freely, they would lose. And now it's time for the second ultimate question to answer when it comes to Trump's removal from the ballot. Is this a good thing? Now, I know it might sound contradictory to the answer I just gave to the former. But in a way, yes, this is a good thing. This is a good thing. And let me explain to you why. Depending on who you ask, I'd also like to make that clarification. Depending on who you ask, and to an extent, this is a good thing. If you're a Trump supporter, this is absolutely a good thing. No other candidate is getting this kind of attention. This only adds fuel to the flames that are stoked when Trump is attacked by any form of government. Trump actually himself cheered on the indictments he had been receiving because the more he got, the more his support grew. Trump is no doubt cheering on this removal because it will only push many people further towards him more. It's also a good thing because it truly means the gloves are off. From my understanding, and like was said in my comments section earlier, Texas and Florida are already working on removing Joe Biden from the ballot. While this is usually something I would be against for the sake of the system, if the precedent set is allowed to stand, then we have to fight fire with fire. We have to beat them at their own game. If that's the way they want to play it, then fine. Gloves off, bare knuckle boxing, get in the ring, and let's do it. That's 2024. But as we talk about 2024, I'd like to remind you, as I have before, to be ready for next year, for 2024. It will undoubtedly be one of, if not the ugliest election year in modern American history, if not even American history as a whole. We aren't even in it yet. And the Republican frontrunner, as the polls currently suggest, has 4 pending indictments, a potential removal from primary ballots, from primary and general ballots. And as we saw in 2020, there was COVID, there was BLM riots. Imagine what comes next. Imagine what comes next. We have so much more to cover here today, guys, on Speechless. But if you missed any of that, don't forget to go check out my YouTube channel, Speechless with Kev. All you got to do is Google it, like, subscribe, share, comment, and we'll be right back. I'm going to get to some comments during the live stream. If you're listening to this on the radio, make sure you go check out that YouTube channel. You can join me in the live stream. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. God bless you guys. God bless America. And we'll be right back with some more Speechless. Okay, everybody. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Larry is in the chat, and he's just having a grand old time. We see Larry is just getting people fired up. Thanks for joining, Larry. You're just Larry thinks I'm delusional. As the kids say nowadays, it's delulu. If you're delusional, you're considered delulu. So maybe I am. I don't know. Larry, just tell me how I am delusional. Let's see what else we got here. Honestly, Larry, a lot of liberals left their hometowns because they were destroyed by Democrat politicians. So they leave places like Illinois and California for Texas and Florida because the living there is going to be a lot more, I don't know, just better in terms of economically overall. So that's why a lot of liberals left their hometowns. But okay, Larry. Yes, you have missed a lot, Demon Goral. Absolutely to this unconventional. Congratulations, Raven, on getting your AR kit this week. This is also true. This is also true. Remove every single one of them. Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah to all. Notice how you didn't say Kwanza. One thing I am going to cover in the next parts of the show is Kwanza, my favorite fake holiday. And I'm going to talk about that and other things too. I'm going to take a few more sips of water here. I also want to remind everybody, if you want to support the show, make sure that I can continuously upgrade my equipment, update my understanding of software, and a lot of different things. If you are feeling in the giving spirit and would be interested in supporting the show, not only by liking, subscribing, sharing, and commenting, below there is my Venmo, my Cash App. You could also send a super chat. Be very appreciative of that. Anything you could do to help me out, making sure I can continuously grow the show, grow the channel, so that these messages and this way of thinking that obviously many of you share with me, not Larry, but many of you share with me, if you'd like to get it out there and support the show in that way, I'd be very, very appreciative. Thank you so much. And also make sure that you guys share this with friends. I've noticed YouTube has been not necessarily sharing my content nearly as much. And it would be amazing if we could keep growing and keep getting it further. So share this with your friends, share it with your family members, all that kind of stuff. All right. This is going to be going into my fourth segment here. Okay. Let's get into it. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Speechless. I am your host, Kev Phares, 23, by the time this airs, 23-year-old college graduate, activist, conservative activist, and still hosting Speechless here at Cities 92.9. Thank you guys once again for tuning in. I do pre-record these shows now as I'm off to some different things in my life, but I'm going to keep up the content, and the content doesn't stop on the radio. It actually continues on YouTube. Yeah, so the way I pre-record these is I am on YouTube right now. I'm live streaming it, and you guys can go onto YouTube, look up Speechless with Kev, just Google it, and you can find me. You can also find it on Rumble, Facebook, and Twitch, and you can just check me out. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, all that fun stuff, and ring that notification bell. Hit it to all, because we know ScrewTube tries to make it so that people like me can't even have a voice on the platform. But we're going to keep growing, and we're going to keep getting bigger, despite the leftist zealots that would love nothing more than for me to shut my mouth and sit down and do what I'm told. But that's never been who I am, and that's never who I will be. And that's what we're going to talk about a little bit in this segment. So, as a lot of you guys know, my fourth segment of my show, I tend to talk about things that are motivational or advice. And I got a few different things I've been pondering on. So let's get into some of these. So the first one is take the holiday that is this weekend, Christmas. I know some listeners might celebrate Hanukkah, and Shabbat Shalom to you. But this weekend to me is Christmas. Remember the reason for the season. Remember the Christ in Christmas. Now, a lot of conservative pundits will talk about, and I have a little bit on my YouTube channel about the people that want to get rid of Christmas and all that stuff. Don't let them bring you down. It's sad to see that kind of stuff. It's sad to see that people would much rather say happy holidays and to be tolerant. And I'm going to talk about some of those holidays. I'm going to talk about Kwanza in the next hour, but let's not get into that yet. But it's sad to see that schools have gone from having Christmas parties when I was a kid to now having holiday parties and a mention of Christ or Santa or anything of that, even of that nature. Even the Hallmark version of Christmas is not even necessarily tolerated in certain parts of the country. But how do you fight back against something like that? Well, I don't want to say ignore it, because ignore it is not the right word. But when it is time to come to these celebrations, when it's time to decompress, to have those few days off work, days off school, really take that time to reflect and remember, to understand the sacrifice that Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, made for you and I, but also his mother. A lot of times so I was born on Christmas Eve, so I've always had a special place of Christmas in my heart. It's when this airs on the radio, it'll be my birthday. I'm turning 23, and I appreciate you guys continuously staying with me. But I've just always had a fascination with Christmas as a holiday. Always so much to celebrate around that time, and so much to do. Remember the sacrifice that Jesus' mother Mary also made for us. Look, whenever you see the holiday plays or the Christmas plays, sorry, I got liberal minded there for a second. The Christmas plays that your kids might be and your grandkids that you might have been in, it always depicts the birth of Jesus as if it was this absolutely beautiful and immaculate and heavenly thing. And I get it. You're not going to depict an actual childbirth, but for a children's kind of retelling of the story. But think about that kind of sacrifice. Turned away at the end, 9 months pregnant, Mary was, going into a barn with smelly animals surrounding her and having to give birth the biological way in all of that. That's a profound sacrifice, and Christmas is a time to be thankful for that. And don't necessarily think of all the gruesome details on Christmas, but like to be thankful for that's like. So that Jesus Christ could be born. There's a certain sense of beauty to that. And once again, gratitude must be given. And aside from just the religious aspects of the holiday, recognize the sentimental as well. The first question I'm often asked, because my birthday is Christmas Eve, is, so do you get double presents, or do like people combine presents? And when I was a kid, that mattered a lot more, because when you're a kid, you care about the presents. Like, that's just the way it is. But as an adult, my perception on my birthday and on Christmas as a whole has changed drastically. I'll get personal with you guys here for a second. I don't oftentimes get too personal, because this show is a lot more about politics and analysis and stuff like that. But I'll get a little personal with you guys. My family, I have two older sisters, and my mom and my dad, and they're together still. My two older sisters both live out of state. There's very few times in which we all get to be together throughout the year. And if none other time, if not during the summer, if not Thanksgiving, not on any other holiday, it's Christmas. And so to me, there's a beauty to my birthday. Not only will I probably never have to work on it because it's Christmas Eve, but it's a time where all my family will be together for Christmas Eve, my birthday, for Christmas Day. And we get to celebrate it together as a family, together like we were when we were younger, together. Now, how does this apply to you? Because you might be listening and might be like, oh, Kev, that sounds beautiful. That's awesome. So happy for you. But like, my life's different. Maybe your family's not necessarily around or anything like that. Maybe you guys can't all be together on Christmas. And I'm sorry if that's the way it is. But recognize, once again, at face value, I get asked the question, well, don't you care about the presents? Not necessarily, no. I'm thankful for what I do get, not what I don't. For what I do have, not what I don't. And so that's how it applies to you. This holiday season, take a second to decompress from the news and the doom and the gloom of what is going on in the world and the things that I often talk about and might even make you a little angry. I know it makes me angry. And if you watch on YouTube, you see it makes me angry. But decompress from that. Take a step away. Turn off the news for a little bit. Unless it's Speechless with Kev Phares. I'm kidding. But turn off the news for a little bit. And take a second to be grateful for what you have. The true privilege that it is to be an American. At a minimum, you have that. The other privileges that you have in your life. And I'm not talking about privilege based on your skin color or your race or your gender or anything like that. No. Privilege to have your health, have your family, to have a merciful and a loving and a just God that sent his only son to die for our sins, and is the representation of his birth being celebrated at Christmas. There's a lot to be thankful for. And I know it's not necessarily Thanksgiving, but Christmas is definitely a time to express gratitude. And so in terms of motivation, in terms of things to think about, that would be what I say you should think about this Christmas season. And I truly hope you do. And I truly hope you do. And I think this will also be rerun. This show will also be rerun for New Year's. I'll have a different motivational segment coming up at the end of the show for New Year's, because I'm going to be talking to all you fatties out there. New Year's is your time to shine, fatties. We're gonna talk about how you can better your life, but that'll be in the next hour, along with why Kwanza is a fake holiday, and some quick hits for you guys too. We're going to talk about all that and more in the next hour of Speechless. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. God bless you. God bless America. We'll be right back with more Speechless. We'll be back. Thank you. Everybody, let's see what's going on in the comments section. Once again, I'm recording this for the radio. I appreciate you all tuning in. All right, I was going to do my quick hits next, but I guess I'll start the next hour with Kwanza, especially after I just had that that motivational segment about Christmas. This is simply not true. I write, unless it's an article that I specifically cite, I write everything, usually just as a reaction to the article based on my own knowledge, my own study. In fact, a lot of it is actually studies from liberal professors at my university in political science. Um, so I more than think for myself. In fact, I often overthink and it causes me extreme anxiety. So thanks, Larry, for bringing up my anxiety like that, you a-hole. Should I start a Bible study? Larry brings up a good point. I'm not the most biblical person. I definitely could be better. And by no means would I consider myself a religious prophet, but I do believe in God and I do practice Catholicism. So um, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Larry, would you attend my Bible study? I could start doing a weekly Bible study. I'll pull out my good old handy dandy Bible, come up with some good verses, and we could talk about them if you'd like. I'd love to do that. Larry, let me know. Okay, here's the other thing too. You know how hard it actually can be? I mean, if we're talking, it depends on what kind of goalposts we're talking here. But you know how like I'm thinking of physically, it's kind of like the left will always be like, is there's the whole bootstrap mentality on the right. Like like pulling yourself up by your bootstraps is actually like physically impossible. But you know how hard it would be to move a goalpost? Like if we're talking about the goalpost on like a football field, I'm pretty sure like Auburn or like Bama or somebody, like they had an entire like riot on the field, and that's what was able to take down that goalpost. Just saying. I mean, you know how hard it could be to actually move a goalpost, and yet the left still does it all the time. Raven's still about 8 minutes behind. Well, hello, 8 minutes behind, Raven. Or no, this will be all caught up, Raven, at some point. Hi. I love how he's just like kind of in the back. Demon Girl's back. I'm calling everybody a nerd. We're gonna start getting into Kwanza here soon. I'm just taking a quick break. Got to get some water and stuff. Very good. Very, very good. I very much like that. Uh, and if you thought that was an Indian accent, you're the racist. I didn't say that it was. I'm getting some stuff prepped for. Raven says it's geeks. Larry needs a hug. Probably a shower too, but that can hopefully come before the hug. Larry, I'll hug you if you shower. Okay, I'm getting some stuff set up to talk about Kwanzaa. I'm gonna take this my Kwanzaa stuff. I'm not even gonna care how long it goes because it's gonna become its own video because I'm so passionate about this. I'm gonna repost it probably on like Christmas Eve because this is one of my most passionate topics. Okay, let's get ready here. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Speechless. I am your host, Kev Phares, 23-year-old conservative college graduate, still an activist, still doing work in politics, and planning to go to law school, doing my applications as we speak next fall. But also keeping up with the radio side of things. And not only am I on the radio, but these are pre-recorded shows now. And if you want to make sure you can catch them live and engage with a phenomenal and robust community of speechless warriors, go to my YouTube channel or any of my platforms, Rumble, Twitch, Facebook, and just look up. All you got to do is Google Speechless with Kev, and you will be able to see me and my face that is made for radio, but my mom still tells me it's beautiful. You can see it in my home studio with a beautiful new background. talking about all these fun topics. So make sure you go check that out, everybody. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, and all that fun stuff. Definitely share it. Ring that notification bell to all. Get your friends to watch because I have a lot of fun and exciting content. And this next story is something I have been very passionate about for a while. So let's talk about it a little bit here. I'm going to get comfortable. So, your kids probably go to school, your grandkids maybe. They got these holiday parties. Yeah, they're holiday parties. When I was a kid, they were Christmas parties. But now they're holiday parties. And they're to be more inclusive. Any mention of Christ or Christmas is problematic. Even Hanukkah is only represented when people are not supporting terrorism against the Jewish people. But there is one holiday that has always baffled me because I hear it. And white people have always told me that I mustn't question it because it is culturally significant. And it would be racist to question it due to its African roots. In fact, I've even had family members tell me that you need to be respectful and tolerant of this one specific holiday because you never know who might celebrate it. And you never know how they see its cultural significance. The holiday I'm talking about is Kwanza. Kwanza, which has been traditionally seen as a holiday for Black people around Christmas time. But what does it really mean? Where did it come from? What is its quote-unquote cultural significance? And is it real? Short answer, no. Kwanzaa is a fake holiday. Nobody really celebrates it. And it didn't exist until the 1960s. Let's break this down. From the National Museum of African American History and Culture, it was created in 1966 by a guy named Ron Karenga. Kwanzaa is an African American and Pan-African holiday that celebrates history, values, family, community, and culture. The ideas and concepts of Kwanzaa are expressed in the Swahili language, which is one of the most widely spoken languages in Africa. But who was Kwanzaa's founder? Dr. Ron Karenga. Well, he was a professor of African Studies at California State University. No, he's not an African native or immigrant. He was a professor of African Studies at California State University in Long Beach. He was the holder of 2 PhDs. And in fact, he was born in 1941 in Parsonsburg, Maryland. In Parsonsburg, Maryland is where Ron Karenga was born. And from the Federalist, they also identify him as the founder of the United Slaves, a violent rival organization to the Black Panthers, which created the holiday for Black Americans and derived the name Kwanzaa from the Swahili phrase Matunda y Kwanza, meaning first fruits of the harvest. And that's about the extent of the deep African roots the official Kwanzaa website claims. Is its name. It's really not rooted deeply in African culture. Front Page Magazine's Paul Mushine writes that the African feast, known as Kwanzaa, really has nothing to do with Africa and everything to do with California in the 1960s. He contends that it was made up to divide Americans, not unite them. Molshine explains that the paramilitary organization Karenga ran in Los Angeles in the 1960s was involved in murder and torture. Quote, in 1967, Karenga was accused of having his thugs beat up a student who asked him an impertinent question at a college forum. In 1969, United Slaves got involved in a struggle with the Black Panthers for control of the Black Studies program at UCLA. All involved carried guns on campus. The U.S. guys were quicker on the draw. They killed 2 Panthers in a shootout at the Student Center. So Karenga's group at UCLA was responsible for the killing of 2 Black Panthers. And in fact, Karenga himself, this is the guy who created Kwanzaa. Karenga himself is a convicted torturer. An excerpt from an article from the May 1971 trial of Kwanza for torturing 2 members of his group states Deborah Jones, who was once given the Swahili title of an African queen, said she and Gail Davis were whipped with an electrical cord and beaten with a karate baton after being ordered to remove their clothes. She testified that her hot soldering iron was placed in Miss Davis's mouth and placed against Miss Davis's face, and that one of her own big toes was tightened in a vice. Kwanza, head of the United Slaves, also put detergent and running hoses in their mouths. Kwanza, once again, the person who created Kwanza out of thin air, served only 4 to 5 years in state prison. Only 4 to 5 years. And that's all just about the founder. Let's get into the holiday itself. Like I said, other than having an abhorrent founder, the 7 pillars of Kwanza: unity, self-determination, collective work and responsibility, cooperative economics, purpose, creativity, and faith. Those are the 7 pillars. Now, let's focus on one of those specifically. We could focus on 2, but I just want to focus on one of them. Cooperative economics. The National Museum of African American History describes that one of the 7 pillars, cooperative economics, as, quote, to build and maintain our own stores, shops, and other businesses, and to profit from them together. To profit from them together. That is one of the pillars, the 7 pillars of Kwanza. Look, I couldn't have said it better if I was Karl Marx himself. The amount, when you read through a lot of this, because there's cooperative economics, there's also collective work and responsibility. All of it circles communist talking points. Now, I'll admit, never once in Kwanza doctrine, which is not very long or very thought out, does it ever explicitly say communism. But a lot of the things that it advocates for are expressly Marxist. So this holiday, Kwanza holiday, was built by people that hate America and seem to want to sow racial divisions and push communist rhetoric. Now, here's a clip that was posted to Twitter last year. This is just last year on Twitter. Kamala Harris posted this clip saying, "Happy Kwanzaa, America." She also included her white husband, Doug Emhoff. And so here's her Happy Kwanzaa Day message. If you're on YouTube, you can take a look and a listen. If you're just on the radio side of things, just take a listen. Here's Vice President Kamala Harris, who actually is a descendant of slave owners. And here's her Happy Kwanzaa message. Oh my God, look at that. Look at that big old smile she's got on her face. That doesn't look forced at all. Oh my gosh. All right, take a look and a listen.
Hello, everyone, and happy Kwanzaa. Doug and I send our warmest wishes to all of you this holiday season.
During Kwanzaa, we celebrate the history and heritage of the African American community and the African diaspora.
Growing up, Kwanzaa was always a special time.
Okay, real quick. That sounded like Doug was had a gun to his head. Just saying. Like if you listen, we'll go back just a little bit. Just listen. It sounds so forced out of him.
American community and the African diaspora.
Growing up, Kwanzaa was always a special time. We came together with generations of friends and family and neighbors. There were never enough chairs, so my sister and I and the other children would often sit on the floor, and together we lit the candles of the Kinara, and then the elders would talk about how Kwanzaa is a time to celebrate culture, community, and family. And they, of course, taught us about the 7 principles. My favorite principle was always the second, Kujichagulia, self-determination, the power to design your own life and determine your own future. And it is a deeply American principle, one that guides me every day as Vice President.
To everyone celebrating, we hope your week is filled with love and light. From our family to yours, happy Kwanzaa.
Happy Kwanzaa. Okay. Well, first off, I'll take things that never happened for 500, Alex. Things that never happened. What's the thing that never happened? There is no way. There's no flippin' possible way, nowhere in the realm of reality that Kamala Harris celebrated Kwanzaa. At least growing up. She claimed she was like growing up Kwanzaa. No, there is no possible way that she grew up Kwanzaa, as she would have you believe. Prove me wrong. I would love to see the pictures of her sitting on the floor as she claims. I would love to see those pictures. But the fact of the matter is, I probably never will, and you won't either, because they do not exist. And when I say they don't exist, I can provide some evidence too. I'm an evidence-based individual. They likely don't exist, as she, first off, was raised a Christian Baptist. And so while Kwanzaa is usually celebrated around Christmas time, I guarantee you somebody who came from a Christian Baptist household was much more keen on celebrating Christmas than Kwanzaa. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that I could have some lefties in the chat that are like, well, what if they celebrated both, Kevin, huh? Like they could celebrate Christmas morning and open up their presents and pray and go to church. And then when they come home, they celebrate Kwanzaa. Okay, you could be right. You could be right. But then take this. She was also born in 1964, which was 2 years before Kwanzaa was ever actually made up or founded. So the likelihood that she celebrated it in her childhood was minimal, because it probably took some time after it was made up for it to become mainstream enough to where that many people would have heard about it and been a part of it. And also, I can kind of track that. I did track that, actually. If you look at Google, if you guys know Google and you look up their dictionary stuff on Google, you can actually see when words spike. Like when word usage, how often a word was used. Like there's words that were used a lot in the 1800s that are not used as much today. And there are words that were never used in the 1800s that are used a lot today. Like, I don't know, Riz. If you ever hear anybody use the word Riz, I guarantee you people weren't really using it maybe in like 1880. But today, you can riz up a girl at the bar or something. We'll talk about that one on some other episode. But that's my point. So you could track it. And so the word Kwanzaa, if you look at it, actually didn't start having any level of traction in terms of usage, according to Google, until about the early 1980s. Meaning that for it to have become more mainstream, enough to where Kamala Harris's family was more likely to actually be practicing said holiday, she would have had to have been in her teenage years, if not early 20s, before that would have happened. So her happy Kwanzaa message and her story about, oh my God, we sat on the floor because we didn't have enough chairs celebrating Kwanzaa. And my favorite pillar is Kuja Tuchahali. No. Likely all crap that some DEI expert wrote on a teleprompter for her. And if you still don't believe me, if all of that still doesn't convince you, then what about this? A survey by the National Retail Foundation discovered that only 1.6% of Americans celebrate Kwanzaa. 1.6% of Americans. Over 13% of the American population is Black. And only 1.6% of Americans, period, celebrate Kwanzaa. Which means that 1.6% of Americans are liars, because I believe it is 0%. No, I'm sure that descendants of the race baiter Ron celebrate Kwanzaa. But my point of all this is, when you hear leftist zealots and white liberals claiming that Kwanzaa has deep cultural significance and that you're a bigot if you even question its validity, simply know that they are brainwashed, or they know the truth and they are lying to you. Kwanzaa was created by a criminal disguised, and not just a criminal who also wanted to sow divisions based on race. But it was a criminal disguised as an intellectual to offer a racially segregated alternative to much more meaningful religious holidays in late December. So celebrate Hanukkah if that's what you do. Celebrate Christmas because those have ties to thousands and thousands of years ago and are not based off your race. They are based off what you believe. If somebody you know genuinely does celebrate Kwanzaa, send them this. Send them this message to know what they're actually celebrating. A holiday created by a torturer, a person who sowed racial divisions, was responsible for the organization that killed Black Panthers, among others. That's what you're celebrating. All disguised as a celebration of African American culture. If you want to actually celebrate African American culture, fast forward to February where it's Black History Month. Because at least that's more genuine and honest. But everybody, we got to take a break here on the radio side of things. I will still be live on YouTube. Look up Speechless with Kev on Google. Like, subscribe, share, and comment. We will be right back with more Speechless. Thanks so much for tuning in. Okay, everybody, let's take a look at some of these comments. I want to see what you have to say. I'm getting my microphone set back up here. I just got heated during all that. I'm going all the way back to crap Larry was saying. All right. Nobody I know speaks Swahili, celebrates Kwanzaa. They don't even know what it is. Larry was trying to make fun of the amount of viewers I have. Here's the thing. It's not about how many viewers I have. I mean, I'd like it to be more so that more people could hear these messages. But one, I know that ScrewTube tries to keep people away from seeing a lot of my content, first off. And along with that, who cares? I'm so thankful for 3. I'd be thankful for, I'm thankful for 3. I'm thankful for 30, for 300, for 3,000, whatever I get. Because this conversation is about all of us. That's why I go to the comment section. You'll have other people that won't ever even go to their comment section. They'll just keep talking. And yeah, they might get a lot of views, but I want everybody to be involved in the conversation, even loser Larry. So Lucas, thank you for clapping back at Larry for me. I appreciate it. Happy to have you live now, Raven. I appreciate it. So I appreciate this. Kwanzaa is anti-American. I don't go all in on anything. Yep. Okay. I got some more content to make sure I get to for the radio. Here's what we'll do. Okay. We're going to come back with what will be my next segment or two in the radio. Excuse me. Sorry. I just had a little bit of Coca-Cola. Okay. Let's get back to the next segment, everybody. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Speechless. I'm your host, Kev Phares, 23-year-old. Yes, Christmas Eve is my birthday, so as you're listening to this on the radio, it is my birthday, and I appreciate you guys tuning in. And we got a lot we're going to be talking about here today. I've covered so much in the show already. Oh, and also, before I even talk about what I've covered, if you missed any of it, you can go onto Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, or Rumble, and all you got to do is just Google Speechless with Kev. Speechless with Kev. And you'll be able to find me and see me do these live streams. So this is a pre-recorded show on the radio. You can see me do them live earlier in the week. All you got to do is just go look those up, like, subscribe, share, comment, all that fun stuff, and be a part of the community and be involved. Talk to the people in the comments section, and we can have a great time doing so. But let's get into this. We got some more things to cover. Earlier in the show, I talked about my first hour was basically about Donald Trump being removed from the Colorado ballot. A lot to break down with that one that I already did. I talked a little bit about what to be thankful for this Christmas and what to think about. I talked about why Kwanza is a fake holiday. And if anybody tells you they celebrate it, they are lying to you, especially Vice President Kamala Harris. If you missed any of that, make sure you go check out all of my content on my YouTube channel. All of that and more is right there. Speechless with Kev. Like, subscribe, share, and comment, all that fun stuff. But let's get into this. I got some quick hits for this segment, just a few different stories that came up in my news feed from the last week, and I thought were worth sharing with all of you. So let's start off with this one. You might have heard of this one. Gay sex in the Senate. There was some gay sex in the Senate. Explicit, out of the Daily Wire, explicit leaked video appears to show a man allegedly to be a Senate Democrat staffer filming a sex video inside the Senate Judiciary Room. The Daily Caller obtained and released the recording of the alleged staffer having anal sex with another man who is not identified, at least initially. The alleged staffer can also be seen in a photo naked on all fours looking back at the camera on the table where senators often sit to ask questions during a hearing. It appears to be unprotected sex, the Daily Caller's Henry Rogers reported. The staffer identified in the video was Aidan Zeropsky, who was a legislative aide to Senator Ben Cardin, a Democrat from Maryland. Aidan, the staffer, has since responded to the allegations in a statement on social media saying that he has been, quote, attacked for who I love and that he would never disrespect my workplace and is, quote, exploring what legal options are available to him. Well, buddy, here's the thing. You did disrespect your workplace, so I don't believe really anything you say, and we have the footage to prove it. This whole story, though, all of it, shouldn't really surprise anyone, at least at face value. I guarantee you sex acts, if not even worse, have been committed all over the hollowed halls of the Capitol and other government buildings. Many, I'm sure, that we don't know about, but some that we do. I mean, we know JFK was not necessarily the most devout Catholic that he put himself off to be, getting it on with Marilyn Monroe in I know at least a hotel, probably having some fun in the Oval Office. Then we have people like Bill Clinton, who got absolutely railed by Congress during his impeachment inquiry after already getting a blowjob for Monica in the Oval Office. So we can call that a 2-for-1. But jokes aside, what really makes me mad about this, is that President Biden basically ran a campaign on, quote, restoring honesty and decency to the American government. He said that multiple times. In fact, even Jill Biden had a tweet that said it's time to restore decency. Everybody said that's what Biden was going to do. We're going to restore decency. We're going to restore decency. That's what they said, honesty and decency. But let's time travel for a second here. Since Joe took office, he has mounted evidence to prove that he's lied and likely has corrupt ties to Hunter's business partners. There was cocaine found in the White House with no identified culprit. A Democrat state representative candidate sold videos of herself having sex online. A gay sex tape has been released from the halls of the Senate. And I'm sure there's much more, but I don't have that much time for quick hits. And so I guess the only quick hit that really happened was whatever happened between those two gay guys in the Senate. Got him. All right, now number 2. That's the rest of that quick hit. But next one, the Pope. The Pope loves the gays. He must have visited the Senate recently. But no, Pope Francis clarified this week that Catholic priests can bless individuals in same-sex couples, but caution that such a blessing does not sanction the union and cannot resemble a marriage ceremony. This is also out of the Daily Wire. Couples in, quote, irregular situations, including same-sex relationships, can receive blessings that do not sanction or legitimize their unions. The Vatican dicastery for the doctrine of the faith, which exists to defend Catholic doctrine clarified in a document published Monday. Priests can give people in same-sex couples a, quote, spontaneous blessing, but the blessing cannot be a liturgical act or resemble the sacrament of marriage, the document says. Now, I am a Catholic, so I have an interesting perspective on this, but I also want to be clear too. I think some of the wording and all this, a lot of the quotes that I said are really funny. Like one of them, couples in irregular situations, including same-sex relationships. I love how it's just described as an irregular situation. Also, that leaves it so like up to like, okay, irregular situations. Could that mean like a Muslim couple can come in and get blessed by a Catholic priest? I don't know why they would, but just as much as I don't know why a same-sex couple would want to get blessed by a Catholic priest. But irregular situations, that mean like somebody who's polyamorous or has like a bunch of wives can come in and get blessed by a Catholic priest? What defines an irregular situation? I just thought that one was funny. And then the other one, was another one, because this is quotes from like the actual doctrine that was changed. Priests can give couples in same-sex, or priests can give people in same-sex couples a, quote, spontaneous blessing. I love how it's described as if it's like an adventure, like as if it's just like, no, you can't schedule a blessing for gay couples. But if they just pop in and it's like, oh my God, maybe it's a bit spontaneous. Do you want to get blessed today? Like, let's do it. Let's do it. Like, come on. Like, as if you're ordering fries for the table and that was just an unplanned thing. Like, oh my God, we're gonna get some fries, maybe a blessing from the priest. Like, that's just what it comes off as. I don't know. I digress. But as a Catholic, this whole thing is a bit personal for me. I'll have Catholic friends that talk about the Pope, and I discuss it with them, and how he seems to be a bit more woke, especially on issues like this, the LGBTQ stuff and abortion. And many theorize, including some of my friends, that this has something to do with the declining numbers in the faith, and that this is an attempt to appeal to the younger generation. The Pope will walk the line to try to maintain the beliefs of the faith while also giving an inch to the people that would likely take a mile and also have beliefs that are fundamentally antithetical to the faith itself. So the problem with all this, if it's not already apparent, is that the Bible is unchangeable. The Catholic belief system is unchangeable. If anything, the Pope is alienating many that already are members by straying from the unchangeable belief system. The fact of the matter is, being gay is a sin. And like, I'll also admit, I sin too. I drink a little too much sometimes. I curse. You guys have heard it. I have not always obeyed my mother and father. But being gay and I repent for those things. And I recognize when I make mistakes. But being gay and consistently living in a gay relationship is a constant state of sin. A blessing unto it, whether distinguishable from marriage or not, is still a form of condoning the sin, and any priest who does it should not be trusted, and you should leave their congregation. God loves all sinners. This is true, but from my understanding, he does not love the sin. So to bless those that are unapologetically steeped in said sin is wrong. And this is a bad decision from the Pope. In a long list of bad decisions from the Pope. But that's the second quick hit. Let's get to the last one here. Southwest Airlines. This is out of Fox Business. And if you guys are planning on traveling for the holidays and you're planning on traveling Southwest and you are not fat, or even if you are, you might want to take a listen to this one. Southwest Airlines celebrated for a policy to give a full row to, quote, passengers of size for free. I love that verbiage. Passengers of size can get free seats on Southwest Airlines. Again, out of Fox Business, customers whose bodies encroach past the armrest are entitled to an extra seat, according to Southwest's inclusion policy. They are currently one of the few, if not the only airlines to offer free seats to larger passengers. Southwest provided its policy to Fox Business, which said that passengers of size, quote, have the option of purchasing just one seat and then discussing your seating needs with the customer service agent at the departure gate. If it's determined that a second or third seat is needed, you'll be accommodated with a complimentary additional seat. The flight team will then try to make the seating arrangements, potentially moving other passengers around for the unplanned accommodation. Okay, so basically, if you're fat, you can get free seats on airplanes. This is insanity. This is just a new form of just blindly following and accepting those that should be subject to making their own accommodations and dealing with their own problems, but then everybody else having to pay the price for it. What do I mean by this? Okay. The free seat that is now being given to the fat person, or even free 2 seats on the plane, will now be subsidized by you and I, because that's revenue, if they're giving it away for free, that they will no longer be able to recoup. And so their tickets, while maybe only a change in $10 per person, will be reflected as such. And so with that, like, I worked hard for my body. I talk about on this show a lot how in the last like 8-9 months, I've lost about just about 50 pounds. I feel so much better about myself, and there's a lot of health benefits to that. I didn't lose the weight to be able to sit comfortably in a plane. But the fact of the matter is I worked hard to get to where I am. And now, in a way, I'm kind of being punished for it. How is it fair that we pay the same ticket price and the fatty gets more space because they're fat? They haven't put the time and energy that I have into taking care of themselves. But maybe there's a way. Here's what I was thinking, guys. Here's what I was thinking. Maybe there's a way I could play the system. Here's my idea. It's 2023, right? So I could be a woman if I want to. Heck, I could probably identify as a different race. So my announcement comes here. Everyone, if I were to ever fly a Southwest flight, which seems increasingly unlikely, but if I ever were, from now on that flight, on that plane, I identify as 350 to 400 pounds, morbidly obese, weighing in, and in this seat, 2 seats, 3 seats, weighing in at 350 to 400 pounds, Kevin Phares. Yes. Line up those seats for me, Southwest. I'll be taking them because that's how I identify. And I'd like my extra seat and I'd like you to pay for it. It's like Trump with the wall. Like Trump's out there. He's like, I got the wall and we're going to make Mexico pay for it. All these fatties are just like, I got on the plane and we're going to make all you skinny people pay for it. That's how they do it. That's how they do it. Now, fat people, though, I'm kind of thinking about this as well. Kidding aside, wouldn't you also feel ostracized more in this situation? Look, a lot of this arose when there were fat people that had taken to social media to complain about the discomforts of flying. And one thing that multiple had mentioned is how other people would stare at them and be worried about having to sit next to them because of all this stuff, because and it made them even more uncomfortable because they got weird looks. Now, I feel like you'd get even more weird looks if you had somebody walking with you and were like, "Oh, we have to rearrange some seats around here so that this person of size over here can have these extra few seats because they're fat." Like, I feel like that would just be just as like embarrassing, wouldn't it? Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm the crazy one. Maybe I am. Maybe I am. I feel like you get, especially with everybody also knowing that you're the reason that their ticket costs that extra few bucks. I don't know. But there's the quick hits for this week, guys. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate you tuning in this week on Speechless. God bless you. God bless America. All right. So that's everything I pretty much have for my radio show. I think that pretty much covers all the time that I need for that. I'll have to split up those last two, like the quick hits and everything for all that. But now's the time because I finished pretty much all my radio content. And if I need anything else, I'll just record it outside of YouTube and everything. But now it's time where I get to talk to you guys about some of those quick hits and everything because I had fun with those. I always have fun with those. So let's talk about it. Let's see what you guys have been saying for the last bit. Absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you very much for saying this, Raven. I really do appreciate it. Do the US taxpayers get royalties off those videos? Off my videos? If every taxpayer were to get a royalty off my videos, they would get less than a cent each. I don't make enough. Well, I don't make enough to like sustain a life for myself, let alone anybody else from this channel. I'm grateful for everything I have with it. But I don't make enough. Biden was supposed to bring the adults back into the presidency. I see no adults anywhere. Yep. Hey, in the words of Geddy Lee, $8 is $8. Absolutely true. The Pope. I feel like I'm reading through the book about the last Pope from several years ago. This isn't a Pope. He's defiling the church, but considering my Lutheran grade school, this seems very anti-church. Yep. On the Protestant side, the mainstream branches are overly leftist. They split off into evangelical and Orthodox branches that reject those sins. Hi. Hey, AL77. Thanks for joining. I was raised as a Methodist, and I think the Catholic Church has gone awry. Southwest is just trying to fill up their unfilled seats. Maybe that could be true. That could be true. You could be right. They're promoting paying for the second seat and then asking for a refund later, which they'll have to do, probably spend 2+ weeks going through customer support, and they're hoping most of those give up. Yep. Well, that's not the way it's framed in the media, but you can still get a free seat even if you do, even if you want it. I do need merch. This is something I'm working on in the new year, so actually this will be a fun time to talk about this. So I got a lot of things I'm working on. A lot of it, like I said, so I'm going to put it up on screen. To be able to devote more time into promoting and getting more of this channel out there, guys, I really would need a little bit of support and capital. One thing I've been working on. So definitely, if you can support this show with Venmo and Cash App at the bottom there, it'd be very much appreciated. But I do have things I want to do in the next year, and I plan on investing in them, whether that be with some of my own money from my jobs and such. I'd like to put that into a lot of it into savings for law school. And I also plan on purchasing a car soon. But I digress from that. What I'd really like to be able to do is to obviously get merch out. I'm also going to be working on obviously upgrading my home studio, making it as good as possible for everybody. I want to get a new microphone. I know this one might work well enough, but I can tell you, I know audio, and I know with the right amount of money, I could get one that's way better. I could get other cameras and stuff, other angles, make it, I don't know, just even better of a production quality. I'd also like to be able to do merch. That's something I wanted to put time into. I'm also planning on working on syndicating this, working on ensuring that I can get other rates. So right now I'm only airing on one radio station. I'm in talks to have it on another one soon, and hopefully even get it on more radio stations across Illinois and across the country, to build up the brand, get more people to hear these messages. And I think that I'd with the right amount of work, I'd be able to do that. But a lot of that takes time, effort, and some money. And so that's why I always say, if you guys can support the show in any way, I'd really appreciate it. I really would. Obviously, liking, sharing, subscribing, all that stuff is very, very much appreciated. But a Venmo, Cash App would be, YouTube doesn't take any of that from me. And so I also want to register this as an LLC. I don't know if I already said that one, so that I can protect myself in the event that anyone were to try to sue me, as well as I can also then use a lot of like the purchases that I would make for the business as a tax write-off. So those are some of my plans, and that would be what like any donations or any support would go to. And I can tell you'd be supporting a good cause. So it'd be very much appreciated if you could. So yeah, pay cash for a car. I know people will laugh at you, but payments is slavery. I still take out. Yeah, no, that's my current plan, is to pay cash for a car. But yeah, and I'd also want to be able to invest in equipment so I could do more man on the street stuff. Like I have one video on my YouTube of me going to a protest and stuff. That one time that I did that, I was borrowing equipment from a good friend. I'd really like to be able to buy some of that for myself. So if there's any way that you guys would be willing and able to support, I'd really appreciate it. I know I talk about it every show. I just feel the need to make sure that if you have the means and you'd like to, it'd be very much appreciated. But I can also do Q&A. I got a little bit of time here. I do have to go through and edit those segments for the radio and double check my timestamps on all of it. But if you guys have any other questions or comments, I can stick around for probably about 5 to 10 more minutes and answer those. But that's pretty much all the content I got for today. I hope you guys liked it, and I hope there was something that you got out of it. I'm always going to try. Like, here's the thing: is I know there will be other people where they do shows and it's super formal all the time, and it's just gonna and it'll be just like their entire show is just like what my radio stuff is. And while I do like doing that because it allows me to get a lot of thoughts out there, this is a conversation, man. Like, I created Speechless with the intention of creating a movement. Like, this is a part of the movement. It's cultivating community and it's getting people in on the conversation, whether you agree or disagree. I'd love to be able to do all of that kind of stuff. Lucas, I didn't have a chance to look at it. Here's what we'll do right now. I'll pull it up on my Gmail and I'll do a reaction to it on this. Let me get it pulled up. I also saw somebody sent me something called Smith. I think it was I don't know exactly what it was. A Tim Pool clip or something. But let me see let me go get that trailer pulled up, Lucas. I'm trying to find it in my email. Here we go. Present. Okay, let me I got it pulled up. Here we go. Let's restart it and pull it up on screen. Here we go. All right, let's react to this together, everybody.
19 states have seceded.
The United States Army ramps up activity.
The White House issued warnings to the Western forces as well as the Florida Alliance.
The future president assures the uprising will be dealt with swiftly.
Let me know if you want to try anything on.
I'm just aware there's like a pretty huge civil war going on all across America.
We just try to stay out. With what we see on the news, seems like it's for the best.
Citizens of America,
the so-called Western forces of Texas and California
have suffered a very great defeat at the hands of the United States military.
Mr. President, do you regret the use of airstrikes against American citizens? We're moving to D.C. today.
You need to go down there.
All right. Well, first off, as I'm starting to watch this, I just find it it looks like it could be an entertaining movie to start off with. I think it could just be entertaining. I would also, as I watch this, I noticed Nick Offerman. Nick Offerman is playing obviously like a presidential figure, at least some politician, likely presidential. If you don't know Nick Offerman, he also played Ron Swanson in Parks and Rec. He actually is from Illinois, and he's from the same town that my mom grew up in, or at least right near it, Minooka, Illinois. And my mom, I believe, actually taught him when he was in second grade. And my mom and his dad, Nick Offerman's dad, was a science teacher at my mom's high school, taught my mom in science, and was also he was serving at the church for my grandmother's funeral. So I got ties to the Offerman family. I like him. I think he's a great actor, and he's just a funny guy and interesting.
Shoot journalists on sight in the Capitol. Every instinct in me says this is death.
flooded.
Every time I survived the war zone, I thought I was sending a warning home. Don't do this. But here we are.
There's some kind of misunderstanding here. What? We're American, okay?
Okay. What kind of American are you? You don't know?
The Western forces will reach the White House on July 4th.
Oh my God.
Get in the car! Get in the car!
Move, move, move!
We're gonna hang back.
I'm not hanging back.
One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Go, 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 go!
God bless America.
Very interesting. I hadn't seen that trailer yet. I appreciate you sending it to me. I think it's really interesting that it seems as though Texas and California are the ones who teamed up for the Civil War. I just think that's like, whoa, they're gonna. I'm wondering what they agreed on to believe that a Civil War was necessary. I'm very, very interested into seeing exactly how that movie plays out to see. Because, like, here's the thing: is like, I'm wondering if it's just like an experiment movie. Like, if the purpose of the movie is to experiment with the idea of like what would happen if there was a modern Civil War, or if it's an attempt to make some kind of, or if it ends up being some attempt to make a like social statement. Because like I could see it taking the way of the Purge, like the first Purge movie. The first Purge movie was like more of just like a social experiment. Like, what if America had a day where all these people just went out and went to like have an opportunity to like kill each other, and like all law was basically null and void. And then there was furthering on, eventually it became more like a little bit with some social justice messages and stuff. I forgot which one, but I just remember watching some of the sequels, and it became more like social justicey. And so I'd be interested to see if in this movie, that's really, I don't know enough so far. It would seem as though it's not trying to make a major political statement for the purpose for the only idea that I'm given to believe that is that Texas and California teamed up for something. And so if they're able to team up for something, it would have me believe that this is not going to be set in necessarily like a real world type scenario. It'll be kind of like a realistic fiction potentially, but not like necessarily trying to um, like be reflective of society necessarily. Um, let's see. I wonder if it's supposed to, the idea of this, after normalizing it, they can drive it to a worse direction and nobody would question because it's normalized. I don't think it'll normalize it. I would disagree with that idea. And the reason why I would disagree with that is exactly for the reason of the example I've already given of the Purge. Like, so here's the thing is like, yes, there are parts of the country in which it feels like lawlessness is enabled. I mean, in terms of like the elimination of cash bail in Illinois, rampant crises of rioting, looting, lawlessness in places of California. But for the most part, like those things are relatively fringe still. It's not widespread and everywhere. People know those places, and they usually condemn it. And for the most part, most people are like, yes, I don't want. Even liberals will say, man, San Francisco has really gone downhill. They won't necessarily admit the reason why, but they'll admit that there is an issue. And so like the Purge didn't cause people to feel a normalization of of lawlessness in society, or believing that we should have a day of lawlessness. The reason I keep bringing up that example is because it's probably at least watching the trailer, that's what it reminded me of. That was kind of like an applicable uh, comparison, in my opinion. So I don't necessarily think it would be that. Let's see this. A lot of people are speculating whether or not and which stances it'll take. I sent a map of what the state versus Fed lines are supposed to be. Did you send it in that Civil War trailer thing in the email? Or did it come right after? Because the only thing I got from you, Lucas, was that link to the trailer, and that was it. So but that's all I saw. Interesting though, and I appreciate you having me watch that. I think it's definitely interesting. Let me refresh. Okay, I will refresh my email. Here we go. Political map. I'm going to share my screen. Present. Okay. Okay, so here's what it's supposed to be. So there's a Florida alliance. There is the Western Forces. This might be a little small. I'll move it like this. Let's do this. There's the Florida alliance. There's the loyalist states. Kind of an interesting map there. There's the Republic of California and the Second Republic of Texas. See, I feel like the only way that this could work is that if you were to have New Mexico and Arizona join forces with Texas and California, potentially Nevada too, simply so that there would be a land barrier created. If California and Texas are together, but nothing in between them is, then you're kind of screwed. The Florida alliance makes sense. The Western forces. I'm just interested into what the differences between these are. What do the Western forces believe that the loyalists don't, and the Florida disagrees with? What does Second Republic of Texas believe and Republic of California different? Yeah, this is just interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Very, very interesting. Oh, you know what? I also never showed you guys this. I'll do this too for you guys. I actually did an interview. I told you guys I went down to America Fest. Maybe I'll do another video that kind of talks about this. It's Turning Point USA's conference that they do every year. And so I went down and had a lot of fun there. And I actually did an interview with an organization called New Federal State of China. The New Federal State of China, they are a group primarily made up of Asian Americans and Asian immigrants that are very, very against the Chinese Communist Party. And so I want to show you guys that interview that I did. I had to screen record it because it was only viewable on Getter, which I don't know if you guys know what Getter is, but that was the only place that I could really watch it. So take a look and a listen. This was my interview that I did with the New Federal State of China. Again, it's screen recorded, so the quality is a little interesting, but here it is. I realize you guys might not have heard some of the audio. Can you hear it now? I'll restart it if necessary. Could you guys start hearing it now? It's paused now, but could you guys hear it when I put myself back in it, or could you not hear it at all? I'm watching the comments for you guys. No? Okay, let's try to figure this out. I don't know why it's not sharing audio. Interesting. Stop screen share. Let's try to do this. Here's what I can try to do. Brand, add video clip. Just stick with me, guys. I'll get it on here for you. Sorry about that. Let's try this video file. Here we go. Maybe this will work.
Welcome back. This is Emma from NFSC. I'm here.
All right. Can you guys hear that before I let it keep going? I'll watch the comments. Could you hear her? Could you hear her when she started that off? Audio, you could hear it? You could have it? Yes? Awesome. Here you go.
Here at MFest 2023 in Phoenix, Arizona. And joining me is Kevin. He is a recent college graduate. He's also the host of a radio show plus podcast called the Speechless with Phares. Welcome to our show.
Thank you so much for having me on today, guys. I'm so excited to be talking to you guys about everything. So like you said, my show is called Speechless,
right,
and there is no no community right now on the face of the planet that is more speechless than those that are living under Winnie the Pooh, Xi Jinping's regime
That's
in
correct.
the CCP.
That is very much correct. So, how did you learn about the CCP's terrible acts in inside China and also in America? How did you learn?
Yeah, well, a lot of it actually came. There's a clip that went viral a few years ago during Taiwanese protests in which, when Donald Trump was still president,
Right.
there was a Taiwanese man who said, Donald Trump, don't trust China because China is a bunch of assholes. And once that went viral, I was like, I got to look into this. What's going on? And seeing what China is currently trying to do to basically become the global superpower is insanity.
Right.
Look, everybody will always talk about, they'll say, well, we got TikTok as a problem. We had the CCP virus that was bioterrorism against the United States. And while that is all terrible, the biggest threat that we have is if China were to succeed in their goal of taking over Taiwan. 92%, I'm going to tell you guys some truth right here. Listen up. Turn your volume up. 92% of logic semiconductors, which are microchips that are in the screens that you're watching right now, the cameras recording this, on this microphone, everything, all of it comes from Taiwan, 92% of it. And so if China were to be able to take over our semiconductor, our microchip market by taking over Taiwan, they would have control over basically the entire tech market. What currently controls the American government right now? Money coming from big business, a lot from the tech, from our tech market. China wants to become the global superpower, take over everybody, and that means taking down America. And they want to do it not only through bioterrorism, not only through brainwashing us and obviously their own people, but they want to do it by taking over big business and thus taking over America.
That's very well said. You were so educated on this problem. So I also have another question for you. So what do you think that American businessmen can do to prevent, the Chinese Communist Party's corruption in America?
Well, the thing is when it comes to big business in America, they've already been corrupted.
Right.
A lot of our institutions have been corrupted. China's
That's right.
buying up farmland across the United States. They have infiltrated big business through things like the WEF and BlackRock, Vanguard, whatever will just push money towards them.
Right.
And so really what we need to do as American citizens is try to step back from big business as much as possible. Support local, support. You guys had the CEO and founder of Public Square on earlier. Look on Public Square. Find those local businesses that support your values and will not give in to the tyranny and fascism that comes along with the communism of the CCP.
That is very much correct. Thank you so much for your awesome insight. I want to have the last question. Do you have anything to say to our supporters watching this interview from inside of China and all over the world?
Absolutely. Everybody, we need to stand up to the CCP. If you want to support America, if you want to support freedom, the freedom of speech, the freedom to criticize a government, then you need to be criticizing the CCP more than anything. Yes, Joe Biden's awful. I'm telling you, if you're in America, you know Joe Biden's awful. But he is just a precursor to what could happen in America. If you want to know what's going to happen or what could, then look at what's going on with Winnie the Pooh, Xi Jinping in the CCP.
Thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for letting me interview you.
Thank you, Emma,
it's
so much.
It's our pleasure. Thank you.
So that was a lot of fun for me, guys. I really like doing those kinds of interviews, and definitely go check out the new federal state of China. They're doing a lot of great work in standing up to the CCP, especially as it relates to ensuring the safety of America and encouraging the prosperity of America. So I love doing that interview. God bless them. I'll probably try to get like their CEO on at some point, or their founder, to talk about exactly what the organization is. I'll reach out sometime soon and hopefully be able to get him on to talk about just that whole organization and everything that they do, because it was a lot of fun doing that interview and I learned a lot about them while I was down there in Phoenix, Arizona. Maybe my next live stream or something next week, I'll go through a few of my different experiences that I had when I was down at AmFest, because it was so much fun. It was so much fun. I had some amazing friends and just awesome people to spend time with. They know who they are. Some of them are probably watching. And so thank you for that amazing experience. It was my last Turning Point conference for probably a little bit as I exit my undergraduate years. But it was quite the time down in Phoenix, Arizona. Turning Point USA does phenomenal work. And I'm hoping to have an update with you guys probably next week. I have a few job opportunities in my future that are looking to be very fun and interesting, might get me on the road a bit. And so I'll definitely keep you guys updated with all that fun stuff. But That's pretty much all I got for you guys for this week. I got some editing to do, but thank you guys so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Ring that notification bell, hit it to all. If you want to support the channel, one more time, if you want to support the channel, if you're feeling in the giving spirit for anything, please check out Venmo, Cash App. You can always do super chats, anything like that during any of my live streams. You can become a member to this channel. That would help me get more mics, more cameras, be able to invest more, get more stuff out there so then I can bring on bigger guests and just have more fun bringing you guys this content. I'd really appreciate it if you would consider doing that. But once again, like, subscribe, share, comment, all that fun stuff. And God bless you guys. God bless America. Until next time, you've been watching Speechless.